It's Holy Saturday in Bordeaux, and the weather is excellent, but it is cold still. But it's supposed to warm up later today, which is good because just because it's good. And then tonight, I have a French friend who I have an entirely different sort of connection with, but we go to mass off and on together. We're both into architecture, and we've chosen Notre Dame for this evening for the services, and it's a magnificent church in the center of Bordeaux, and I'm quite loyal to my local parish church here, but because Saint Louis is magnificent too in another way. However, having said that, I want to, as you may have already guessed, talk about living in this country really well by loving the French, by sharing things with them. And this is not to put too fine a point on it, but other sites who talk about living in France understandably focus, as I said, on the organization, and I focus on the organic, the connection with people. And to give an example of what I mean, very rarely mentioned are things you share with people. Like, for example, really important in my relations with my French friends is the fact that we're all readers. So we share books. So it's quite conventional. You meet someone, even someone new online, and very quickly you find out what they're reading now. And because I'm not French and wasn't educated here, they'll suggest things I've never heard of, or classics that I know of, but I haven't really, I didn't get down and do. And right now I'm reading the memoirs of Hadrian by Yourcenar, and it is marvelous. And I learned that from interacting with French people. Now, having said that, I want to take a different tack, but the same theme. Holy Week here, between Passion Sunday and Easter, for example, for whatever reason, the Spanish tourists are here in great numbers. I mean, Spanish is so prominent a language now. Occasionally one feels there are more Spanish speakers on any particular street than there are French speakers, just because the Spanish are talking and they're in groups or what have you. And you hear as often as we, the Bordelais, talk about Bordeaux. Last night I walked to and from Porto-Cayo, and I heard the word Madrid at least 3 times. So that's charming, but it's the way holidays work and whether the Spanish organize their travels. But the real point is that religion, if you can bring something like religion to your engagement with the French. Now, having been raised Roman Catholic because my Irish mother, and then gone to a Catholic school with a strong emphasis on French things. And when you arrive here then, there's all kinds of things you share. I mean, there are Latin jokes and practices, childhood memories. I mean, French, this is a secular society. People have lapsed, but they're cultural Catholics. They know the drill. I went to kiné, to physiotherapy yesterday, and we were talking about, yesterday was Friday, and therefore, yesterday was Thursday I went. Thursday, and of course, it was the Last Supper. And so the question is, what is it in French? And my kiné guy couldn't remember, and I was thinking of what it was. And then all of a sudden, someone popped in, another physiotherapist, and gave us the answer about the dernière cena. Now, that kind of thing is shared. That's a shared culture. With that, the French cease to be a category. They become people with experiences, and you share those experiences. And I'm saying that religion is perhaps avoided because it can be contentious, but here it is something affirming, that you actually have a link. When I go into Saint Louis here, although I was not born in France and I'm not French, I know the whole drill. I know how everything in that church is arranged and why, and how to behave, how to interact, how to intimidate tourists, for example, with religious gestures. But that particular approach means that I'm here in a way. Any foreigner who is a Catholic will be here in a way that is not true of the expat, defensive, barrier-ridden, I love France, but I hate the French. And none of that applies. All of a sudden, you're in it. You're part of it. And this having this a native feel for a whole set of practices and usages, and going to Mass in French and reading the Gospels in French, when you've read the Gospels all your life in English, are I was raised with Latin, so you see what I'm getting at. All of a sudden you have this thing that you share with all kinds of people. And it makes you a part of the society, even though in a sense you're not. You're from the outside, but you bring something that they share. Now, my point of this is that, of course, it's Easter tomorrow, and we're having a grand fete, and I will probably talk about the meal again if I would, left my devices. But the real point is find the equivalent. If you're not a Catholic, find the equivalent of something that you share with the French. I mean, things. It could be rugby. This is rugby country. Although I'm Welsh, I wasn't raised in Wales, wasn't born in Wales, and I don't play rugby. But a lot of French guys do. And therefore, this immediately has a connection that transcends any limitation you have of birth, not being born here, not being French. But if you share something that they're passionate about, you have a connection. And I think this is the way it should work. This is the way national borders are transcended. And rugby will do, religion will do, reading, the 3 R's. Anyway, have an excellent Christmas. Joyeux Pâques.